Doctor Who's agenda pushing continues. Last week, it was the gender pay gap. In case anyone doesn't know already, it's the flawed notion that women are paid less than men. In actuality, the misleading numbers, which are always used to prove the existence of the pay gap, are based on the working population as a whole, and does not take into account different life choices. In general, although not a hard and fast rule, women tend to go into professions that are paid less, such as teaching and nursing, with the irony being that men are often discriminated against when it comes to employment in those types of fields. Men are more attracted to STEM fields, which are higher paying. Here, however, women are also given advantages through mandated quota systems. In the Western world, it's actually illegal to pay women differently for the same work. The only other variables are things like time spent in a job, hours worked per week, and merit increases based on performance. In summation, there is no gender pay gap. There is, however, a hiring gap created by equity policies that give certain demographics and genders advantages over others. Yet we don't really hear this being screamed about, now do we? So what exactly did we learn about the gender pay gap with regard to Doctor Who last week? Anybody remember the gender pay debacle at the BBC last year? You know, the one where the BBC's more popular personalities were being paid more than the ones that weren't as popular, and some people got mad when it turned out that they were disproportionately white men. So the BBC decided to intensify its war against straight white males. Gee, I wonder how this manifested in Doctor Who. Now, time for my usual disclaimer, and I'm sorry if this is getting tiresome, but I have to say it in every video or people will accuse me of being a bigot. I don't have a problem with a female doctor as long as it makes narrative sense within the context of the show. I do, however, have a problem when a gender change appears to have been done for ideological reasons. Here's my latest piece of evidence. Rather than news stories focused on Doctor Who itself, we once again have a story based on ideology, and people wonder why so many are done with Doctor Who. The story goes that Whittaker demanded to be paid the same as Peter Capaldi, that it was some kind of big fight. Apparently, she said it's a, quote, shock that it's even an issue. She was quoted at the National Television Awards as saying, quote, I don't imagine you're going to meet a woman this evening who is unenthusiastic about the prospect of equal pay. She apparently stated that, quote, it's an incredibly important time, and equal pay is a notion that should be supported. You mean equal pay for equal work. That's already enshrined in law. She continues, and it's a bit of a surprise to everyone that it should be supported. Yes, because meritocracy be damned, right? Also, why is a story being spun that Whittaker apparently had to fight for equal wage when it's clear that the BBC Director General Tony Hall had already assured that this would happen? Also, do you really expect anyone to believe that the feminist and social justice agenda-driven BBC would ever have put up a fight about equal pay regarding Doctor Who? Sorry, Jodie, but nobody's buying this. I would also like to point out that a new doctor being paid significantly less than their predecessor is not without precedent. The only difference is that it was not much of a story, apparently because the actors involved were male. Reportedly, David Tennant made £1 million for each of his 3 series as the Doctor. Matt Smith was offered £600,000 for 3 series, with an option for 2 more. And it appears that Peter Capaldi made roughly the same as Matt Smith. Why wasn't this a big story? I'll let you figure that out. Furthermore, it was reported in late 2016 that Capaldi was in a pay wrangle with the BBC. Again, why wasn't this a bigger story? Why weren't people crying foul when you compare his salary to David Tennant's? Let's look at a hypothetical scenario. Imagine a female doctor was cast to follow Tennant and was paid the same rate as Smith. There would have been declarations of war. Now, let's remove gender from the equation and assume that Capaldi and Whittaker are the same gender and compare the merits of each actor. I'm going to use this as my primary reference. According to IMDb, here is Jodie Whittaker's list of awards. She's been nominated a few times, but hasn't won much. Now, let's look at Peter Capaldi's wins and nominations, and let me know if you see a difference. If we were to, again, take gender out of the equation and just look at the recognition they have both received for their work, meritocracy, then one could argue that Capaldi, at least on paper, has been more successful in his career and is a more valuable actor. Also, the argument could be made that Doctor Who was in a much better place when Capaldi was cast in 2013 compared to the state it was in when Whittaker was cast in 2017, meaning that the show isn't worth as much. So, should the lead actor be paid as much in 2018 as they would have been in 2013? I'll let you make that judgment. What we can conclude from this debacle being made such a large story is that it only heightens fears that Doctor Who will now be entirely agenda-driven. We aren't hearing much about the show itself. What we are hearing mainly seems to come from the feminist playbook, which is sad indeed. And that's it for today. As always, everyone, thank you for watching, and have a good day.